A while back, Derm was surfing the net for porn and came across this video clip of a spot-on, hilarious send-up of Keith Olbermann's melodramatic labor delivery, as you say, during his special comment segments. We played the audio of the impression on the show, and I was amazed because I love a good impressionist. I don't care who they are. We traced the impression to a comedian and actor named Michael Terry. Then, lo and behold, Ben Affleck comes along and causes a momentary sensation with his own KO, like it, impression on Saturday Night Live. True enough, his take was decent. It was good. But we here at the Lionel Show can't help but feel that we found the original and the best first. And what's more, as I delved into it, Michael Terry's background, aside from some white-collar indiscrepancies years ago, just kidding, I find that he is a prolific comedian and performer with many spots or pots, as you say, on the stove. Get it? Pots on the stove. We have his website on our website at lionelonline.com. And I'm telling, and also he's a part of one of the most incredibly important viral, I love that when viral, that was good, a viral video from moveon.org. So viral that Bill O took some time out of his busy schedule to herald and showcase this. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you a man who you're going to hear a lot about, Mr. Michael Terry. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love, Daryl Hammond is very good. I love impressionists. I go back to the days of George Kirby. This is not bad. Vaughn Meter. I bet you he knows.
Little.
Rich Little, of course. There's something that is just so interesting about it. You have to be so deft at hearing that thing. And what happens is sometimes people will be able to imitate a voice, but they're actually imitating the person doing the impersonation.
Right.
People did Richard Fry doing Nixon. When people wanted to do Boris Karloff, this is a long time ago, they'd always say, "On P. Polster," which is what got people going. But when we saw your clip, you nailed it in terms of seeing, and by the way, I'm a big fan of Olbermann and The Message at MSNBC.
Sure.
But tell me how this came about.
This was, I am not an impressionist by trade, but I was invited.
That means you're not paid for this yet.
Yeah. Well,
once you're paid, you're by trade.
Then I'll become an impressionist by trade.
Okay.
But I was invited by Saturday Night Live to submit an audition tape. And actually, I was invited to try out, but the tryout involves 3 impressions, and I didn't have any ready. So
that's a problem, Michael.
It sort of opportunity came knocking, and I was in the bathroom. So I unfortunately wasn't able to make it for that round, but they said, if you put together 3, we'll try and get you in the next time we need a male performer. So I hastily put together these impressions, and Keith Olbermann was one of them, and I was shocked. The thing that was interesting about Keith was I was really surprised to find that that I couldn't find any other impressions of him. For someone who is so specific and distinct, which are the things you look for when you're doing an impression, for the life of me, I couldn't find someone else who had done him.
So how did you come upon this particular piece? And would you do it for us?
Well, what I did was what's the thing that's most noticeable about Keith Olbermann is his sort of outrage and his self-righteousness. And I'm a fan of Keith, by the way. I don't say that as a criticism, but that's the most notable thing. And so I thought, for comedy's sake, the funniest thing to do would be to take that outrage and that self-righteousness and aim it at something entirely inconsequential.
You see, that when the act is good is when the premise is funny. So what completely inconsequential story did you use?
But so I decided to write a bit about Keith didn't have much time for lunch, so he went to Subway sandwiches and was very, very disappointed with his experience.
Could I impose upon you to ask you to do
All right, let me give you a little lead in.
Sure.
Keith is at the Subway and is unhappy with his experience there. So Here's a little part of it. And to the self-proclaimed sandwich artist, Gary, I say, you, sir, are no apprentice, much less an artist. Double meat, as any Ritalin-addled 8-year-old can tell you, means twice the amount of meat. Double meat, sir, does not give you license to go on autopilot and text your friends about Hoobastank. Double meat, sir, means 12 ounces of roast beef, salami, cracked pepper turkey, and Genoa ham.
Amazing. That is so good.
And he also, another thing about Keith, it's his style that I love is...
Who is Gary again?
Gary's the sandwich artist, because
Artist,
at Subway,
yes, right.
at Subway, you don't just have people who make you sandwiches.
Right.
They're artists.
Right, indeed.
They're into their craft. So, Keith...
By the way, may I just tell you, the most frightening thing was to see the physical... You became tremulous. You actually, I thought we're going to split some type of an aneurysm or something just now during that segment. Very scary to be in front of such talent.
Well, that's Keith inhabits me, and I feel his outrage, even when it's over inconsequential items like double meat.
Now, you did some others as well. May I ask?
Sure, I did. I did Tim Gunn from Project Runway.
Now, is there such a thing, Michael Terry, as an impression being so obvious it's not even worth doing?
Yeah, sure. I think where I would say that becomes the case is when you've seen the impression done 100 times, and then it's just who's the best at it, right? A lot of people did George Bush's father, George H.W. Bush, and then it's just who's the best at it, and I think it was probably Dana Carvey, right? But Tim Gunn, believe it or not, I could only find one other Tim Gunn impression, and it was on Saturday Night Live, and it was one line once. And I spent a while looking for these impressions, so I could not find Tim Gunn. I know you would think there are a lot out there, and maybe there are now, but when I did this 2 months ago, there were very few impressions of him out there.
So, without further ado, could we... And again, to have this in the studio, fellas, this is the height, as my friend says, of honor.
Yeah, I don't...
Michael Terry...
I wouldn't oversell it too much.
Becomes Tim Gunn.
All right, this one needs a little lead-in, too.
Please.
So this is Tim Gunn...
At a Subway sandwich?
No, this is...
Always a thematic constant
Tim
there.
Gunn's behind Keith Olbermann in line at Subway sandwiches. No, this is Tim Gunn is having to call the parents of one of the contestants on Project Runway and deliver some unfortunate news. Okay.
Michael Terry.
In our last challenge, the designers were tasked with creating a shawl that doubled as an eco-friendly, one-person kayak made out of renewable materials. Now, Jeremy's shawl was made from an alpaca wool, goji berries, and tamari almonds. Now, the good news is Jeremy won the challenge. But unfortunately, while he was paddling around Liberty Island, his kayak got caught in the wake of a booze cruise, and I suppose the revelers couldn't hear his screaming, and he drowned. Now, you can pick him up in the L'Oreal Tresemme mortuary in a Michael Kors three-piece, and it goes on.
Oh, God. That is great.
But that one, the point there is, Tim Gunn, if you watch that show, Tim hates delivering bad news. He'll see something that he hates, and he just can't say it. He's too nice of a guy. So he'll say something like, well, the judges have very high standards.
Not me.
As opposed, it's not him.
Right.
It's not him. It's when
you know how persnickety they are about talent and
And what Tim really wants to say is, this is a disaster.
Right.